From soul pieces to soul peace. From soul pieces to soul peace. From soul pieces to soul peace.
What's going on, everyone? How y'all doing? This is When Men Speak. This is boy Marquis, and we got Chancey, and we got Kodal should be coming on the way soon. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. This week we're gonna talk about pornography, masturbation, and mental health. All right, so for myself, I know for most males, they as teenagers, as they begin to go through certain hormone changes or whatever, you know, that's when they're first kind of like introduced or hear about masturbation. Um, Me myself, I know all my friends and stuff like that. They used to talk about, how they go masturbate, how they watch porn, all this stuff. So I inquired about it, and through me, being inquisitive, I tried to do it myself, and you know what I'm saying, that just didn't work for me. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't a real thing, you know what I'm saying, it just like for me, I guess my imagination, or if it wasn't real, I don't know if I can fantasize or what, but it was just too much work for me. You know what I'm saying? So, but today we're gonna talk about Chance, why you laugh? That's just too much work for me, bro. Hey. So today we're gonna talk about the struggles of pornography, the stigmas that go with pornography, and also masturbation and how it impacts our mental health. So we got someone on our panel that actually struggled with that for a minute, and we're gonna let him come in and let's kind of talk about his background, and then where he went and where it took him, and then also we're gonna just you know dive into different perspectives in reference to it, and how it also relates to the church and for religious purposes. All right, Chance, go ahead, bro.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Sound check. You can hear me, bro? I can't hear you. You muted, but you can hear me though.
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
good. All right, just want to make sure before I got into it. So welcome again, everyone, to When Men Speak. and I'm pretty excited about this topic tonight. And as you noticed, even since the beginning of our platform, we've always tried to address issues that we've dealt with personally. So we're not just giving you what we think, how we feel about certain issues without having dealt with it ourselves. So I'm coming to you from a wealth of experience in this area specifically, as I gave up my virginity at 10 years old. So I've been sexually active since the age of 10. I'm not proud of that, but I say that to share with you how um, the topic at hand can affect you in your relationships, in your life, as it relates to mental health and other areas. So, okay, so not sure where to start, but let's just start with the beginning. So, at 10 years old, I was very, I can't hear you, bro.
So first, all right. So how'd you end up losing your virginity at 10?
Okay,
And then
so
did you lose your virginity prior to masturbation, or you started masturbation and then that led you into losing your virginity? How that work?
okay, so losing the virginity was first prior to the masturbation. The masturbation came after. So how I lost it, or I gonna say lost it, I gave it away, because you don't, unless you're taking advantage of, you give it away. So excuse me, how I lost it or how I gave it away was both my parents worked, so I had a lot of free time to myself. I was home alone a lot. My mom was a beautician. My dad was a foreman at well, he was a cop. He was a foreman at a retirement community. So his job kept him away most of the daytime hours, and my mom's job kept her away all day and all night as a beautician. You guys know how cosmetologists work, especially on the weekends. So I had a lot of time to myself. So because she was a cosmetologist, um, the women used to always bring their daughters with them when they come to get their hair done. And so as kids, hey, y'all go play, So I would take the women's daughters or children, and we all go play. That sometimes that meant to my house, which was right down the street from my mom's beauty shop. Sometimes that meant, outside or whatever. But as a curious kid, and I'm around all these girls all the time, typically one or two things happen. You start acting like the girls, or you start trying to play house with the girls. So that led to my curiosity about women, about girls, and one thing led to another. And the next thing I know, we were being curious, and we did the do, and that just opened up a whole new world for me, because
Wait, but how you know where to put it at 10 years old? Like, I mean, what you know what I'm saying? At 10 years
I
old, where
grew up
you
in the
get this
hood,
from?
bro. I grew up in the hood.
Oh, so people just conversations,
Yeah,
older
I was
people, and
exposed.
then
Right,
people
I was
yo.
exposed to.
Uh,
I was exposed to all those type of conversations, man. Um, and not just that. I mean, because I don't think I saw a porn magazine until, shoot, I think till I joined the military. So it was just curiosity, man. And I've always been, when I think back on it, man, I've always been attracted to the female specimen. I think that's just we created that way as men. But that's when it started. That's how it started. And then from there, when I first gave it up, it just became almost like an addiction, to where I had to have it like all the time. So I was, you know, any girl that was willing, and I was game. Um, so as I got older, um, I left home right out of high school, a week after graduating high school. So my first destination was Germany, and so now here it is, a young kid, 18 years old, 17, 18, uh, having been sexually active since 10 years old. I went to Germany. When I got off the plane in Germany, I'm at the Frankfurt airport. and I come down the escalators because you know, in Germany they have a location where they tell you on your orders to go to when you land in Germany, and that's where the military folks would be down there waiting on you. So when I come off the elevator, immediately now I hit the bottom of the elevator. Right in front of me was a huge called the sex shop. So of course, when I seen that, man, I got excited. Boy, eyes got big as a pancake. I'm like, word, and I can go in there. I ain't got nobody stopping me. Oh my goodness, I'm on it. So I go in there, man, and I saw stuff in there that I had never even heard about. I mean, bestialities, women with animals like donkeys and horses and dogs,
Oh man, boy.
all this lingerie and all these sex tapes, and all these toys. And man, I mean, it was just crazy. Then I found out that you can rent it, you can get a tape off the wall, and they had, like, you know, like stores have dressing rooms. This place had dressing rooms, where you can get you a tape, pop the tape in the dressing room, you get the lube, everything you need, and you can whack off right there in the dressing room in the sex shop.
You just get your rocks off, just walk up in there and handle business, huh?
I was like, these people, boy, they own one. But I was glad I was in the number. Man, so I mean, magazine, you name it, it was just crazy. And then in Europe, the Europeans are so much more free in their sexuality than they are here in America. So a lot of nude beaches, they're very open with their sexuality. I mean, it was just a different experience for me that I wasn't exposed to nothing like that in the US. So that alone set me on the path, you know, of porn and masturbation itself, because of the environment that I was in. And then, you know, in Germany, you hear about how German women, European women, they love black men, you know, and that is absolutely true. Every club you go to, you know, like they just throwing themselves at you. So I was in heaven, needless to say. So the masturbation came from being the thought was, if I masturbate before sex, you know, get me a quickie out, get that out the way. When it's time to actually have the act, you know, I can last longer. You know, I can go longer because you already got that what they call that pre-cum out the way. You know, so that was the idea behind it. But once you get into pornography, man, and watching this stuff over and over, and you're so exposed to it, I really now understand what drug addicts go through and the process that they go through from the porn addiction. Because with porn, or I was meditating on this today and thinking about the correlation between the two. And an addiction is something that you find yourself chasing after, and there's no fulfillment, because the more you do it, the more you want to do it, and you can't satisfy the appetite for it. And I would find myself throughout the day going to the restroom to jack off, going to the restroom to jack off, because back then we didn't have phones that we could be on now to show you that stuff. But it was
damn,
bad.
bro, you had to have a good imagination then, unless you were going back previous.
You reflecting back on the porn that you don't watch.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have all these images in your head, and you want to try all this stuff out with the women that you sleep with, and so after listening to you know, Terry Crews came out with a YouTube video talking about how he, you know, was addicted to porn as well, and there was a few things that he said that I can definitely identify with, that I would like to share with the listeners. And one thing he said that really stood out to me, he said, if day turns to night and you're still watching, you probably got a problem. And the other thing was, he said, people become objects and body parts to be used instead of people to be loved. And that's how I viewed women. Now, mind you, I grew up in a church home. I grew up in a home. My mom taught me love and how to love people, man, and give to people and do for people. And so that didn't go anywhere. But what I did find was that I began to view women as objects or pieces of meat or things to conquer, as opposed to somebody to love. So my perceptive or my perception of love was skewed because of porn. Because I started looking at women as objects and something to overcome, something to conquer, as opposed to something to love, a committed relationship, but let alone something to conquer. So I didn't have, back then, I didn't have meaningful relationships, because I just saw it as another opportunity to try all this stuff that I've been watching, in these videos and on these videotapes and in these magazines. So everything was about my satisfying that sexual appetite and those sexual urges and desires that I had been seeing, in these images. So it was very destructive, but at the time I couldn't see how destructive it was, to the point where there were times that I would have dates set up for women to come over, where I would be done with one woman and she would be leaving my place, and another woman would be coming up the stairwell to my place. Of course, they didn't know each other. They knew, because we was in the barracks, so they didn't know where the other person was going. But one woman was coming as one was leaving. And I'm in the shower while the other one's leaving, getting ready for the next one, because my life was so out of control and so governed by sexuality and porn and masturbation, that the only fulfillment that I had in my life was when I was actually engaged in the act of having sex or being pleased sexually, either orally or sexual penetration. Outside of that, I felt empty and lonely and just nothing gave me satisfaction outside of that.
So it began to control you, basically.
Absolutely.
It basically just ran your life, like you say. You became an addict.
Absolutely.
You became an addict.
Absolutely.
So how did this relate? How did this relate to you? As because during the time you say you grew up in church, and how did this relate to you spiritually, as far as how you dealt with people or interacted with people from a spiritual perspective?
So here's when things got tough for me, in the sense of recognizing I needed to change my life. While I was in Germany, church wasn't even, because mind you, I was born and raised in church. That's all I knew. That's how I was conditioned, raised, everything. So me leaving my little small hometown for Germany, I left church in the rearview window. Like, I didn't pursue church. I didn't pursue God. That was my opportunity to go live, because I felt like the way I was raised and where I grew up, I felt like I felt like I was denied living, because my whole life is church. So I saw that as an opportunity for me to live, do what I want to do, how I want, man. And that's exactly what I did. Now, when I came back to the States, things changed a little bit, but not much initially. Because there were times when people would speak into my life, and I get little seeds planted, seeds watered, and I would reflect back on how I grew up, and like, hey man, you boom, boom, boom. But I would immediately go back to what satisfied my flesh, what satisfied, the physical aspect of me. So I kept denying what I knew, denying, because I was loving this. I was pleasing myself. I was good with that. So I recall standing in the club, and I'm in the club, and I'm standing on the wall. And as I'm standing there, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, I got no satisfaction out of it. I got no enjoyment from it. And it was like a moment for me was like, this ain't you. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing here? So that was one of the times in my life when I started to think about, how I grew up, who I am, the life that God created me to live and all this stuff. But it was so easy to go back to that lifestyle because at that time I didn't really have any accountability partners in my life who held me accountable or who even spoke out against what I was doing. Because not like people knew. A lot of people didn't know what I was doing. I had homeboys that were doing the same things I was doing. So I had nobody in my life at that time in season in my life that held me accountable to say, hey, what are you doing, man? Get yourself together. So that reminds me of something else Terry Crews said in his YouTube that he posted, is that I wrote it down. He said, not telling people allowed this addiction to grow. Keeping it secret gives it power because you have no accountability. And that's where I believe that the scripture comes from. For they overcome by the word of the Lamb, by the blood of the Lamb, by the words of our testimony. If you don't testify to people, which is telling people, then those addictions and those things that are controlling your life, it literally, not opening your mouth, it literally gives that thing power over you. And that's exactly what the enemy wants to keep us in that place where he can just you can just feed that thing and feed that thing and feed that thing. But once you expose it or it's exposed, now guess what? Now I got to be accountable to it and for it. And to
Right. But okay, right. But this is my I think that depends on the individual. Reason why I say that is I know I've been around quite a few people, who would announce that that's what they do, and they don't have a problem with letting people know. You know what I'm saying? That that's what they do, and it's okay. And they from their perspective, every man do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't change. That doesn't change the power that it has over them.
Right.
So that depends on the individual, doesn't it?
It does. But here's the key. And I wrote this down too, so I wouldn't. I have to write my thoughts down so I don't forget. The issue with that is this: continued use or continuing in that behavior that leads to more and more negative behavior is the issue. So I didn't see it as a problem either until I started getting to relationships that I cared about or that was meaningful to me. Like you know my story. I've been with my now wife since 1989. We were high school sweethearts, right? When I left to join the military, went to Germany, we said we were going to do a long distance relationship. As soon as I got over there, I started holding around. I'm way in Germany, so like you can't catch me. But I ended up getting the girl pregnant, and so I had to fess up and tell her and everything. But so we took a little hiatus. She's the only woman in my life that I've ever saw myself or even wanted to be married to. And I saw that when we were dating in high school. I knew she was gonna be my wife. But long story short, a long story long, when she came back into my life and we actually got married, that's when I saw my addiction as a problem, because I began to view her as an object and thighs and hips and titties, as opposed to my wife, the woman that I always saw myself being married to. So I'm supposed to treat her differently than the woman that I see in these videos, in these movies, in these movies that I'm watching, in the magazines. But I began to treat her like that.
So you saying you became desensitized to the point to where you weren't even able to connect. It was just the act. you were just performing the act. You weren't even really able to connect because you have been so desensitized mentally and as well as spiritually and physically that you weren't even, you was disconnected with your wife intimately, sexually wise, because of your you being desensitized. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
I was totally desensitized to the point where I wanted sex every day, multiple times a day, because of how I had now conditioned myself. And if we would have been able to play that video that we wanted to play as our intro, you would see that when you begin to do things like that, any addiction really, it doesn't matter what the object of your addiction is, if it's porn, if it's alcohol, if it's drugs, if it's sex, it doesn't matter what it is, you can actually change the wiring of your brain, and you begin to feed these things, and your brain, you can't function as a human being without satisfying those desires that you've now programmed yourself to need. And that's what it was. I in my mind, I needed this. Like you're my wife. Like, why don't you give me this? I need this. Like every day, like multiple times a day. What you mean? And to the point where my wife had to get to, we got to a place, and this was in the beginning of our marriage, maybe a year or two in. She came to me. She was like, Chancey, listen. She was like, I love you. She said, but we cannot continue our marriage like this, or you're going to, one, wear me out, but two, you take away my ability to enjoy intimacy with you or sex with you, because now it's just work. It's like a robot. It's like, well, I know he wanted a day 2 to 3 times. So like, and so now it takes the enjoyment out of it. It takes what it really means out, because now it's just like you say, an act. You're just doing something.
So it becomes more of a chore than
Absolutely.
anything now.
And that's what it had
And
to
a
become
burden.
for her. Yeah. That's what it had become for her. And so when she told me that, and now mind you, this is in the middle of us trying to go back to church and get our life right, on track with back on track with the Lord and all this stuff. So she had actually given her life back to Christ. I hadn't yet. So I ended up, giving my life back to Christ, and actually thinking about what I was doing, and thinking about how I was treating her, and thinking about how she felt, in me wanting sex every day, and what it was doing to her body, what it's doing to her emotionally and spirit, all of that stuff, man. And the difference maker is we had a woman at our church. We call her our Madia. She was like our mentor, like our relationship Dr. Phil per se. And she helped us through a lot of that stuff, man, a lot of our issues and a lot of our stuff. And most of it was me, because my wife didn't have a lot of stuff. It was me. A lot of stuff I had to break, habits I had to break, and addictions I had to break, man. And it took us some years, man. I mean years, for me to finally get to a point where that was no longer a issue in my life, man. But just to be able to see the effect that it had on me, on my marriage, my relationships, even my children, man. Because imagine, here we are with 3 kids. My daughter didn't live with us, but she was with us a lot. But 2 boys in the house, and I'm still in the way to go watch porn on my phone or on the computer, and the boys get the computer doing schoolwork, and one of the sites pop up, because when you're watching porn, you get a lot of viruses on your computer, and pop-ups just pop up out of nowhere. You know what I'm saying? And the boys are on the computer doing homework or something, and they go to Internet Explorer to go get on the website, and my history is in there, because I wasn't smart enough back then to delete my history, and so nobody else can see what I was looking at and all that stuff. I ain't smart enough to do all that back then. So they open up a web page, and what I last viewed pops up. And now I done planted that seed in my boys. And so
Wait,
you can just imagine.
So this happened.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So you can imagine how I feel now as a father. I'm planting seeds of this mess in my kids' head. And now that plants some curiosity. They may not have
So
never even.
so now you struggling yourself, and then you expose your kids to what you struggling with. So how do
Yeah,
you handle this? How did you handle it?
I had to be
Because
honest.
you still in the transformation phase of becoming desensitized to it, but now they
Yeah,
being introduced to it. You trying to come out of something they just being introduced to.
yeah. Well,
So
at the time it was just my oldest son. My youngest son, he wasn't here yet at the time.
right.
But yeah, so I had to be honest. I had to own my stuff. Like I say to couples all the time, I had to own my stuff. Uh, uh, Fess up to my wife, to my son, and I use it as a learning tool for my son, for me. Um, and what one of the things I learned from all of that, man, is that a lot of parents don't like to be transparent with their children about the things that they struggle with, or have struggled with, or even struggle with currently. Um, but for me, that helped me and my son become closer, a closer bond, because he knew I wasn't perfect, but I shared my struggles with him in an effort for him not to repeat my past, and to learn from dad. When I was growing up, it was do as I say, not as I do. Uh, but I changed that with my kids. I wanted to be the father to tell them, do as I do, follow me. And my kids say, okay, dad, lead the way. That was the mantra that I wanted my children to live by. Not do as I say, do as I say, kind of theology like our parents taught us. I wanted to do it different.
So
And
I want to switch gears because I think this right here should be a whole nother topic with the kids. And I think
yeah,
that's what we're gonna do next. But how did you start the transition out of you get from being desensitized? You a man of God. You still struggling with this, and you're transitioning out. How did you finally come out to become? Because what you always credit yourself is for being a lover,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so being a lover includes being able to embody, embrace, and really connect with someone in that manner when it comes to making love and expressing love to an individual. So how did you come from being the what is it? What's the word again?
desensitized.
Desensitized to, what I'm saying, actually being sensitive.
So there lies the thing, right? I didn't become desensitized to it, right? Cause one of my gifts is love. So what I didn't understand back then is how to focus my love, and how to use the gift that God had given me for good. I didn't understand it at the time. And it's just like everybody else. Everybody has a gift. All of us, everybody God created has a gift. But if you don't understand how to use your gift, more than 9 times out of 10, you'll use it incorrectly, or you use it maliciously. And that's what I was doing. So
Wait.
once I,
You got to back up. But I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you out. You say your gift.
yes,
You
love is a gift. Some people have the gift of love. It ain't just the fact that we understand love, or we know what love is. Some people actually have the gift of love, the
is it
capacity
the
to
gift of
love.
love, or or is it the gift to express the love
No,
that you have?
it's a gift of love. The gift of
Okay.
love allows you to love people beyond themselves. um and it's not just something for a spouse, right? So that's what feeds my passion for marital and family therapy. That's what feeds my passion for counseling, because I love people. But once I uh, grew in my relationship with Christ, and I learned how to use my gift for good, I understood better now that what I've been given wasn't for self gratification, self-satisfaction, self-glory, self-pleasure, and all those other things. It was to be used to bring him glory by helping other people who were having relationship issues, who were having marital issues, even people who were struggling with loving themselves.
All right,
Because I could
let's
see.
go back. Let's go back though. That's the gift. And you talking about using this gift in all them other realms. Right now, we talking about using this gift right here in this perspective. All right. So in this perspective, right? Yes, using the gift to glorify God because we understand that He used sex. Sex is a good thing. It's to be pleasurable. It's honorable to Him. It's to create all these things, right? But sex is also healthy for the body, you know what I'm saying, to continue to maintain itself, whether you married, whether you unmarried. And that's another thing. That's another thing we're gonna get into. I think we're gonna have to go in a couple series with this. Um, However, you came from being desensitized to actually understanding the gift to bringing a balance because there's time when you horny and you like, baby, let's go on and get this. I wanna, you know what I'm saying? I just want to ski all up in you. You know what I'm talking about? So, that ain't I we could say that it's glorifying God when it comes to that's being your wife or whatever the case may be. But you still get freaky and you still just wanna, you know what I'm saying? You still just want her and you just wanna bust one. See what I'm saying?
And that's okay because she gets that way sometimes too, and that's okay as long as, like you say, as long as you have balance and you understand the way to direct, those feelings and those emotions and those things that you're feeling. That's okay. And I just, back then, I just had it wrong in the sense that I didn't care who it was. I didn't care, when like it was just you're trying to fulfill a tank that has no bottom. You know what I'm saying? There's no fulfilling that there's no fulfilling addiction. It's just like
You
when you
say
get that, when you're a drug addict and you get your first hit on anything, right? You spend the remainder of your life until you get help or you go to a rehab or whatever. You spend the entire remainder of your life trying to chase that first high,
bro,
which we know you
bro,
can never get.
I'm sorry, man. You
What
said
I
you
say?
trying to fill a tank that had no bottom.
That has no bottom, right? And that's with any
you,
addiction. I know where
bro,
you
you
going with it.
ain't.
Get your mind out the gutter, boy. Get your mind out the gutter.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. All right, but yeah. So this leads me to So basically, what we're talking about is masturbation and porn can become addicted depending on the individual, and they can become harmful for you to be able to function properly as an individual and as an individual in society, right? And it can cause you to just become hooked, and it can control your life for the most part.
Yeah, because
That's a
because go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, like Terry Crews was saying, he almost lost his wife because of this, man. And I wouldn't say that my wife was ready to leave. Well, it came pretty close a few times, especially once my son was born, and she was still finding, because it had got to the point, man, where she would go back and check the history on the computer, seeing, if I was looking at it and all that kind of stuff, and to the point where questioning if she was enough, what's wrong with me, why you got to keep looking at this stuff, like all of those things, questioning her femininity and all that stuff, man. So that things that I never thought about would be an issue, or that she would think about, or that would cause a problem with my marriage. But what it also did was it it almost got to a point where, well, no, it did get to a point where I needed porn to jumpstart our intimacy.
Woo.
I needed to watch
So
it to get me right
you was
to have sex
codependent,
with her. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I needed that. I needed that, and that's what I was talking
man.
about how the brain gets rewired because I couldn't even get in the mood without this image in front of me on the TV to get me hard and horny enough to have sex with my
So
own wife.
so she wasn't good enough, and you were cheating on her with porn, basically.
Man, and that's what happens when there's no balance. Now I know some couples who watch it, as a, like, I see in the comments somebody said it was an enhancement, to kind of stir things up, fire things up, to relight whatever, and that's okay as long as you have balance with it. It can't control your life like it controlled mine. So I know people who do that, and hey, what works for you works for you. The bedroom is under fire, do you? But for me, it had taken over my life completely. I
Okay.
wanted to make videos and make our own movies, and I wanted to reenact the stuff I was seeing on the big screen. I'm talking about crazy.
What's up? So you were trying to perform, boy. You were trying to
Oh yes,
perform for the
sir.
camera. Let's go. Let's
Oh yeah.
go.
Oh yeah. Oh
That
yeah.
dude. Hey, you didn't talk about the part where you wanted to audition for to be a porn star. My dude, boy. Hey, so
Man,
real quick, I love you too, man. I'm sorry, my bad.
man, this dude.
Hey, hey, hey. So real quick, Miss Ingram, can we go into some questions real quick? Do we have any questions at all or comments?
Good evening, fellas. I know you guys are busy in the dialogue and may not be able to see the chats. We don't have a lot of questions, just
Okay,
commentary actually, but the content
got it.
is really good.
Okay. What comments we got? Show us a few comments if you don't mind. Can you put them up or no?
Let me see if I can work this on this
Okay,
here
no
apparatus.
problem.
So,
Let me
okay.
see if I can pull it up. Yeah, some okay. That was my thought. Women would think they aren't enough.
Absolutely. And that's how she felt, and no matter what I said, no matter how much I told her that she was enough, the fact that I kept watching and engaging in that activity was a continual reminder that she wasn't enough, for me. So, and the fact that I wanted it every day, multiple times a day, she was like, "Dang, I must not be enough because you always want." Like, it was just crazy. So that is indeed, I think about it now, man, and I hate that my wife even had to endure that because of something that I brought to our marriage, and that's the thing about when you engage in this kind of stuff, it's like opening Pandora's box. You just can't stop it because you say you want to stop it, and then you bring in this person that you say you love and you cherish and honor and adore, but
And then
man,
also I think about the
yeah,
expectation that you placed on her to be that one of those people. You know what
hmm,
I'm saying? In the
yeah,
porn, unrealistic people in the porn industry. This
yep,
is a good segment, very real and raw, for sure. That's what
yeah,
we
and she
try to
was
do,
never.
Miss Jasmine.
She was never into it. She was never into porn. My wife was, man, I call her a goody two shoes sometime. She didn't have sometimes I feel like she didn't get to live life because she didn't do all this crazy stuff that I did and live like I did. But Lord knows she was the right one for me because I needed somebody like her to resettle me, like to bring me back because I was out there, man. Oh my God, Lord
But
Jesus,
see,
I thank God for that woman.
were you afraid your openness with him would backfire? With
Uh,
her would backfire?
he talking about my son when
Oh,
I
okay.
said I was being open with him. I never felt that way because my father wasn't with me at all. He wouldn't talk to me about these kinds of things, and I wanted to be different, and I felt like um, being now mind you, I had a lot of friends who had children, so we would share back and forth on because raising children don't come with no manual, instruction
Manual,
manual. So
right?
you out here, man, trying to get it, and what worked for your parents may not necessarily work for y'all. So um I just know that I wanted to be that parent, and I've always been open and transparent. That's who I am. So for me, that was never a thought for me of being that it would backfire on me. Yeah, and never at all an issue for me, and it didn't. Thank God. I found it to be very successful for me in raising my children. Oh yeah, like I said, so I think it's fine as long as you and your spouse agree to that and understand that it's just that an enhancement. If you guys agree to that and want to bring that into your bedroom, I think that's totally okay.
Wait, I just got one question. How do you help me, bro? How do you use this as an enhancement? Because when I think of enhancement, I'm thinking about like pills or like little things like you know things that help. You know what I'm saying with performance. I
Well,
how does
she
porn enhance anything?
the question is, so what are your thoughts for using these as enhancements? She's talking about porn. So
Right, but
the
how can
enhancement
you use
is
it?
it turns you on. It gets the juices
Okay.
going. It gets the juices from it. And if nothing else, if you got look at it like
So
this.
it's a form of foreplay, is what you saying?
Absolutely.
Watching
That
somebody
too.
else.
Not just
Okay.
that, but think about it. You might have somebody that's boring in bed, that's not very creative, and it gives you ideas on shoot, we ain't never tried that. Let's try that. That look,
I get that
let's
part.
try that. That's
I
the
get that
enhancement
part.
portion of it. That's the
Okay.
enhancement portion. Yeah,
I get that part. Okay. I get that part.
gives you
All right.
some ideas.
I got that. Okay.
It may be some toys you might not know about, and you see these, hey, but let's go to Adam and Eve. Let's try that one right there. Yeah.
Okay. Next.
I don't see anything else.
You don't see the question? I'm
I don't
sure
see
shame and embarrassment plays a part in holding back with sharing.
Oh yeah. But see, the shame and embarrassment part, I wasn't even there yet because I didn't see anything wrong with it. But when it comes to, when you get to that phase or get to that point, yeah, of course, that plays a major part in it because you have this perception that people have of you, and you don't want them to think differently of you. Like, man, he addicted to porn, he addicted to whatever. So yeah, that played a big role in it. Sharing it with
But
people.
I would say outside of the church community, it may not be such a big thing. But you got a lot of people in the religious communities. I wouldn't necessarily just say church, you know what I'm saying? In
Yeah,
religious communities that, you know what I'm saying, it brings forth shame and embarrassment.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
because see,
Because judgment.
yeah, right. Because they hound on certain things in the church, not realize they do realize they just don't uh magnify certain things like they do other things, and this is one of the things that gets magnified: pornography and masturbation and homosexuality and all that stuff. But
Right.
there's a whole lot of sins, but we blow them
Right.
up like there's bigger and little sins, and there really isn't. And a lot of times what I found, because I've been in church all my life, what I found is a lot of things that they don't glorify, or that they glorify to be the very thing that they're guilty of.
Right. Exactly.
Right. So
Most of this
I'm just all about transparency because I really understand that it sets people free, and people need to know that they're not, because a lot of times people sit in congregations, man, and they think that they're so, busted and less than everybody else and lower than everybody else because they take part in this, or they do this, or they got this addiction or that addiction. And we got to let people know, man, that everybody going through something. Everybody face something. Ain't nobody perfect
Bro.
out here. You know what I'm saying? And so many folks have got ran away from the church because we refuse to be transparent and honest with people, man.
Man, listen, all I can say is y'all became skillful because listen, when I first tried it, I tried it one time and was successful after my boy did. I was like, man. And then I tried it again, bro, man. I'm like, listen, it must be a sign to this thing called listen. I can't be sitting up here sweating, working this hard, trying to get no
Shoot.
little bit of satisfaction. Hey, y'all mind had to be right, bro. Cause I couldn't.
Nah,
Hey,
man.
I'm like, listen, man, it's too. Uh,
You do it while you watching it.
hey,
You watching it while you
no,
doing that.
but see, I couldn't like if it wasn't there and it wasn't the real thing. I don't know, bro. I don't
See,
know.
I think for me later on, it was more about performance because once I had masturbated and go ahead and got that first one out of the way, when she came through, oh, it was on and popping. I can go ahead and set off then, boy. But you got to go and get that first one out of the way. So that when she come over, boy, look at here, it's on. I got some time. I can put some time in.
Hey, so real quick, we have 51 minutes. This is what I want to say.
Okay.
It's a lot of different angles to this. And what
Yeah.
we just talked about is being addicted. Being addicted to porn, and of course porn leads a lot of time mostly to masturbation, self-pleasure, right? What we're not saying is at what we're if I'm wrong, you know what I'm saying, correct me live. What we're not saying is masturbation is wrong. Cause you got singles, and this is what I learned, cause the church or religious people tend to say that you shouldn't do it. But what I've learned over the years, you can't. Every situation is different. You got people who are in relationships that's trying to be faithful, and either the man can't get up or they can't get none. I done heard of a woman vagina being closed after having the baby, to where a man can't penetrate her. You got women that hurt during sex. You know what I mean? So you having, and then not just in relationships, you got singles trying to I guess would you call it saying celibate if they masturbating? We'll go into that as well. But they trying to, live by their religion or live by their faith. You know what I mean? And of course, again, we talked about how we have these desires and we were created to have these desires. And some of ours are way more stronger than others. And if we don't get that release, then we're in trouble. You see what I mean? So for all of us, it's different. And I just want the viewers to know that we're gonna have a couple more sessions. We're gonna have a session in reference to singles, people that are in relationships that are not able to have sex and they have these desires. I think we're gonna hit all those things, man. What you think about that, Chance?
I'm with it, man. I'm with it. I'm with it.
Because I think it's relevant. But other than that, man, we got 5 minutes. Do we have any more? Thank you, Tyrus Timmons. Thank you for your comments, sir. It takes a lot to actually get on here and be transparent about stuff like this, man. Any other questions, Miss Tim? I mean, Miss Ingram.
No, sir. I don't see anything else.
Nothing else. Do you have any comments?
No other comments.
No other comments.
No,
Okay.
sir.
What about you, Chance?
Just we want to make sure we show that video next week that we were going to use as an intro for
Oh
tonight,
yeah,
so they can kind of really
yeah.
segue into this thing from that, because there's a lot of great information in that we can share with the audience that I think would be very interesting for them to
I
hear.
think we did great time tonight too, though. If
Yeah,
you don't mind, sir, can you close us out in prayer?
absolutely. Father, we thank you, God, for another session, another time to share and to be transparent in the effort that some seeds will be planted, some seeds will be watered, God, but you would get the increase out of all of our lives. God, I just pray for anyone who's currently going through any addiction, not just pornography or masturbation, but drugs, alcohol, sexual addiction. There's so many objects of addictions out there, God, but for those who are going through, God, I pray that you would give them the strength to, one, get help, one, to identify that it's an issue, because relationships are dependent upon it. Children's upbringing are dependent upon it. So many things can be torn apart because of these addictions. So God, I pray for those folks who are going through now, and I pray that until we meet again, that you will keep us all covered, protected under your ark of safety. And it's in your son Jesus' name I pray. Amen, amen, and amen.
Amen. See you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining in. If you have any questions, you please go into the comments and ask them, and we'll be looking at that and viewing it within the next week or so to answer any questions you may have that didn't get broadcasted. Thank you guys and have a good week. Peace.
Peace.